It's been 25 years since many of us Western gamers first stepped into the shoes of Ryo Hazuki. I personally only played the game the year after, but I didn't want to let this special milestone anniversary go by without talking about what is still my favorite game of all time. So grab a can of Jet Cola, sit back, and join me in reminiscing about Shenmue. Hello and welcome to the Sega Lounge. I'm your host, KC, and this is the podcast that's all about Sega, the games, the music, the community, and everything in between. This is a bonus episode of the show dedicated in its entirety to Yu Suzuki's masterpiece, Shenmue. As you probably already know, Shenmue is my favorite game of all time, and while I say this when referring to usually the first two games in the series as one, if I'm being honest, the first one has always held a special place in my heart, and I think it's got a bit of an edge over the sequel. I had the privilege of being invited on the Dreamcast Junkyard Stream Pod alongside Matt Oliver of Shenmue Dojo for a longer conversation about the 25th anniversary of Shenmue, and I urge you to give that episode a listen. I'll link it in the show notes, as I think that episode is as entertaining as it is insightful, with some really great points being made about the game, the series, and what the future might hold for Shenmue. But I wanted to do something to celebrate the occasion on the Sega Lounge, and in this episode, I'll be focusing more on my personal experience with Shenmue and why it's still so important to me after all these years. The thing is, Shenmue wasn't just a game. It was an experience, and Dobuita was truly a place we lived in. So, how do you explain why Shenmue is so important? Why it's still my favorite series of all time? The first game came at a really important time in my life. I was stepping into adulthood, facing changes, and that actually mirrored a little bit of what Ryo himself was taking part in the world of Shenmue. That feeling of going into the unknown, exploring a familiar world while dealing with mystery, with responsibility, that resonated deeply with me. But what truly amazed me was the living, breathing world of Yokosuka. People had routines, they went about their daily lives, and I could interact with them, follow them, talk to them. That level of detail was mind-blowing. Even the intro cutscene and the music, like the choreography of it all, left me stunned. Everything about Shenmue felt unlike anything else I'd played. And that's also part of the big impact that Shenmue left on me at that time. So I was a big Sega fan growing up. I was a big Sega fan then when the Dreamcast arrived as well. I actually bought my Dreamcast after a long-ish period of time where I didn't even play games that much. I never got a Saturn, but I was still, in my heart, a very big Sega fan from my childhood. And when I got the Dreamcast, I went back to the blue skies of Sega, to the familiar things like Sonic, like Crazy Taxi, like the arcade-style high-speed games that Sega were known for, with like the bright visuals that were very appealing to me. Shenmue was something completely different. So that was interesting because it was a bit of a shock. I remember when I first saw Shenmue, or a reference to Shenmue, in a video game magazine. I think it was DC UK, which we got some issues of here in Portugal, where I live. And I believe there was a specific issue of DC UK that had Choo Choo Rocket on the cover. And I believe that was like in early 2000, and it had like a little preview of Shenmue. The screenshots they used weren't the brightest, the most appealing to the Sega kid in me, the Blue Skies fan in me. It just said free, like massive letters, which stood for Full Reactive Eyes Entertainment. like Yu Suzuki's concept for this new genre of game that he wished would start off with Shenmue, would kick off with Shenmue. But I remember looking at those screenshots and reading about it and thinking, this is not my cup of tea. This is not my kind of game, you know? I much prefer like the high-speed arcade game, the blue skies, all that vibrant look that you get from other Sega games, the Sonic of it all. So I actually dismissed it at the time. I thought, nah, this is not for me. This is one of like those hyper-realistic games that people are crazy about, like going into the 3D era. Nah, not for me. So I never really gave it a second look after that, after a few months. Then I was just browsing my usual games shop over here, and I saw like a special display case for Shenmue. I didn't really know what Shenmue was. I don't think I even associated that case and the case of the game itself, like the cardboard blue one that had the two GD-ROM cases. Amazing that back then. But I don't think I actually thought, oh, this is the game that I read about a few months ago. But it was like, had a prominent place in that display on that game shop. But again, looking at it, I don't know, it didn't really appeal to me at the time. I was curious, I have to say, but not enough to get the game at the time. I don't think Sega did a very good job of advertising the game over here either. I remember seeing a lot of like Dreamcast promos, advertising Sonic obviously and other arcadey type games, but not really Shenmue. A few months more passed, and so like around September 2001, and that's when I finally decided to, well, I want to play more Dreamcast games. So I see this game all the time on display there at my games shop, so I really should try it, right? Let's just give it a try. Couldn't hurt. And I got Shenmue, and the rest is history. I got hooked. That initial cutscene alone was amazing. The way the fight was choreographed, the facial expressions of the characters, the look on Landy's face, like Landy's eyes like shifting very briefly and quickly and like subtly to Ryo, and he realizing, oh, I have leverage here to get this man to tell me where the mirror is. And that was something that I was impressed by at the time. I think we all were. I think that's part of the initial appeal of Shenmue, at least. But obviously the rest of the game was even more amazing. You actually live in the game, in the world of Shenmue, in the world of the game. So Yokosuka, like Yamanose, Sakuragaoka, Dobuita, the harbor, these areas, if you look at it back, so if you look at it now from the perspective of like a gamer in 2025, it's a relatively small world. But even now, looking back, the amount of detail you had, like as I said before, everyone had their specific routines, the daily routines, which you could just follow them around. You could see people getting out of their houses, going to work, coming back at a specific time, maybe going to a bar or a store or wherever, and then coming back home. You could just take your time, not play the game at all, not follow the story, and just like follow them around and see where everyone was going. And they existed in the world in spite of you, which is something that I don't remember ever seeing in a game. And I don't think any other game ever since really captured like Shenmue. So like that feeling of being in a world that's living, that's breathing, that has its own routines, it has its own schedules, even if you're not there. So people are doing like their usual boring daily things in spite of you not interacting with them, in spite of you not following them around or not, which was amazing for me at the time, and it still is. And still is one of the reasons why I can go back to Shenmue at any point and get lost in it. Even though I know the story, I know what happens, I know what to do. Like, it's something that I played many times. I know everything, or most. I don't think you ever know everything about Shenmue, to be honest, but at least I know most of it. And I still get lost in that world. I still find myself, every time I replay the game and I start from the beginning, I still get lost in the Hazuki residence. I still open all the drawers. I still find it amazing that you have cassette tapes, that you have like Master System notebooks in Ryo's drawers, that you can find move scrolls in a basket, or you can buy them, or you can go to like a toy capsule machine and just find those little toy capsules and waste so much money on that. On those, drink Jet Cola, find some winning cans, win some prizes, boot up your Saturn in 1986 and play Hang On or Space Harrier. Find Sonic capsule toys in 1986. All of those amazing things that Shenmue did first, because there was no Sonic in 1986, but we already had it. There was no Saturn in 1986, but in the world of Shenmue, there was. So that was amazing as well. So all of that is why Shenmue is still so important to me. Being able to interact with everyone, even with the awkward dialogue, the sailors memes and everything, like the accents chosen for specific characters in the English dub. I don't care about any of that. That was amazing. It still is, and it's still something that I cherish dearly to this day. Another thing that I really enjoyed, and I think it's important because it also shaped a little bit my taste in music, is the soundtrack, which was completely different from the upbeat, like arcadey type music of, for example, a Sonic game at that time. Even then, we had Sonic Adventure with its like rock soundtrack, which was different than what came before, but it was still like this upbeat, up-tempo music that suited the high-speed gameplay as well. Here, much like the pacing of the game was different from any other game that I had played until then, the soundtrack was also different. It was a beautiful orchestral soundtrack that really shaped what kind of experiences I expect from a game like this, like from a narrative-heavy game, from an open-world game as well, from an epic story as well. So obviously that was a big thing as well. The soundtrack was amazing. Still, some of my favorite video game tracks of all time came from the original Shenmue and the Shenmue series. Also, you could do mundane things, like not just open drawers and explore everything, like just feed a cat if you want to, pet a cat. But you can also go to the arcade and play Sega games in a Sega game. Amazing. Something common these days, especially for us Sega fans with the Like a Dragon series. But back then, that was amazing. You just could just play those classic arcade games by Yu Suzuki in a bigger Shenmue game, in a Yu Suzuki game that was in your console. That was mind-blowing as well. You could find some capsule toys, you could practice your moves. And the big thing here is, I'm talking about all of these things, even like the forklift job you could get. You could work like your 9 to 5 in a video game. And I'm not even touching on the story, which is a big thing of, like a big part of Shenmue and why we all love Shenmue and why we all want Shenmue to have its conclusion at some point. We really want to know what happens in the story. But it's amazing that when I look back at the original Shenmue, even though the story is really, really important, like up there is one of the main things, I usually start reminiscing about the little things, those details, the free of it all, if you want, the full reactive eyes entertainment experience of having a real life almost experience in that Japanese town, right? Uh, the obsession of Yu Suzuki and team with like some useless interactivity, right? You could open drawers, you can buy capsule toys, drink cola. The weather was amazing, like how it recreated the weather at that time in that place, the magic weather system, the day-night cycle, finding ways of how the town changed depending on the time of day, depending on the weather. That also was something that really immersed me into that world, and something that I still treasure to this day. I think in a way, Shenmue, with it being a story about getting into adulthood, maybe like sort of a coming of age story as well for Ryo, but also a story about revenge, right? That's the goal, apparently, maybe. Ryo wants to avenge his father's death, but it's a surprisingly cozy game. Like, people nowadays talk about cozy games a lot, like they like to play cozy games. This is not really, don't think it's supposed to be a cozy game, but it feels so cozy to play Shenmue. Still to this day, I feel like it's my happy place. When I go back to playing Shenmue, I'm back at my happy place. I'm back at the town that I kind of grew up in, with the people that I know, with the Mario, the pizza guy, with Nozomi selling flowers, with Tom at the hot dog truck. So it's amazing. It's amazing that it still resonates with me to this day, and it still like brings out these feelings of coziness and nostalgia 25 years later, or I guess 24 for me, but still 25 years after the game came out for everyone. Obviously, the story is a big thing, and that's the biggest reason why I think we all want to get the conclusion of this series. We want more. Shenmue 2 made took what Shenmue did and made it bigger and more amazing. The story went to other heights, I guess. Also, a completely different part of the story, the final chapter in which you go through the forest with Shenhua. So obviously, Shenmue is, I think, still my favorite game for that feeling of being in that little town. But Shenmue 2 is, objectively speaking, probably the better game of the two. Shenmue 3, also something that I enjoyed a lot, and we want more. Of course, we want Shenmue 4, we want the conclusion of the story. But still, again, even though the story is important, even though I'm really excited for what Inen Games is doing with Shenmue 3 Enhanced, which we'll hopefully get this next year in 2026, I want to know what happens next. I want to get like a more story-driven Shenmue game again. But that original game and the attention to detail, I don't think, especially that, never really got replicated in the same way after Shenmue came out. Obviously, Like a Dragon, Yakuza is a series that some consider to be the spiritual successor to Shenmue. Yeah, it's got a lot of things in common. Even staff working on the game, that's something that it got in common as well. But it's not really the same thing, right? And I don't think it's really trying to be the same thing. It's just got some bits that are similar, that are the same in a way, but it's not really the same thing. And I don't think any other game series will ever come close to being what Shenmue still is to me 25 years later. So I've been rambling. I think I was able to summarize why I believe Shenmue is still unlike anything else. Again, no other game has ever made me feel the way it did, and I really hope we get to continue Ryo's journey soon. So let's make Shenmue 4 happen. Let's get Shenmue 4. Keep supporting that's the push for that fourth game. And remember to support Shenmue 3 Enhanced when it comes out next year. So I believe some people had some complaints, myself included, about Shenmue 3, but it was not a bad game. And you have to really look at it from the context of a Kickstarter game that people got behind and was trying to be that as well. Now that we hopefully can get more after Shenmue 3, if Shenmue 3 Enhanced is successful, hopefully it'll be more akin to the original vision that Yu Suzuki had for the Shenmue series, and hopefully something better will come out after Shenmue 3 Enhanced is in our hands. But I want to hear from you guys as well. So I've been rambling for this past few minutes about why Shenmue is still important to me. But I want to know, do you have any memories, any specific memories? Have any boring moments from Shenmue that you still treasure? Any specific favorite capsule toy that you got, even if it was just like from the Shenmue 3 Kickstarter? Do you have a favorite capsule toy? Do you have a favorite moment from Shenmue, Shenmue 2, Shenmue 3? Let me know in the comments in the video version of this episode, or if you're listening to this, send me an email to podcast@thesegalounge.com, or find us on socials at the Sega Lounge on X, at thesegalounge.com on Blue Sky, and I'll be delighted if you let me know why you love Shenmue. Or not. That's fine too. It's not for everyone. But thank you very much for listening or watching to this bonus and very special episode of the Sega Lounge. We're here every week. Every Friday we have new episodes coming out with Sega stuff. It's all about Sega as usual, and we're very close to the end of this season, which ends this month, December. And we have some very special episodes lined up for you as well. So do come back. And thank you very much for watching again. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.